fragile today. We had, honestly, one of the best trips I think we've ever had. And one thing that we were also saying before we went, we were just crying out to the Lord, just give us the blind eyes. Give us the blind eyes. Give us the blind eyes. And more than any miracle, and we don't count miracles, but we literally lost count of the number of blind eyes that Jesus opened. I mean, severely blind. Like, this could not see anything. Like, you hold your fingers up, etc. So there was one lady who got healed last year, and I don't know if you remember, but she had her femur was sticking out. I told you about that one. Her femur was sticking out, and the Lord said, by the time you get back to the first spot, she'll be completely healed. Well, we saw.
I just have to give that testimony again for those who didn't hear it. So this was last year, and this woman just walked in out of nowhere and just said, I need healing. And we were just talking to someone, another family, in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And it turns out this grandmother had been beaten by someone in her family so badly with a metal pole that it had broken her femur. And because she didn't go to the doctors, it had set a kind of right angle to the side. And so you could see it sticking, like pushing her skirt sideways. And there was a team of people praying for her, and she was receiving God, but we weren't seeing a miracle. And then I said to Chloe, can you just go over and inject something new into that environment? And Chloe went over, and she just grabbed hold of her hand and went, come on, we're walking. And just walked off with this woman who couldn't walk. And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, please make her not fall flat on her face, because this woman couldn't walk. And as she went round, her legs started to turn, so that because her foot was pointing sideways to start with, and her foot started to turn round, and she started walking, and then she started getting strength, and by the time she come back, her femur was straight. It was amazing. But that was last year.
So we saw her this year. It ends up that she's the grandma of one of the ladies we help and the two twins we just built a house for and sent to school. So she was there at the compound when we took a team to see the house we built. And she was like walking around, her legs still brilliant, but she was kind of like this. And then as she got closer, I'm like, what's going on with your eyes? You know, God healed you last year kind of thing. What's going on in your eyes? And she's basically 80% blind. And you saw this film of blue right the way over her eyes. And she could not see as far as I am to Tom. She could just see someone was there. She couldn't see the trees on the edge of the compound. And anyway, the Lord taught me a massive lesson. He always teaches me lessons when we're on mission. Hallelujah. And he just said, how much are you going to dare to believe the prayer you asked of me? And it was the first time out and about in the rural areas, and I prayed, Lord, give us the blind eyes. He said, I'm giving you what you asked for. Okay, now what? I don't want to do something I've always done. What are you saying? And he said, spit on your hands, slap your hands on her eyes, and then make her wash and get her to own her healing. You are not here as a white person bringing the kingdom. You're here to tell her to claim her healing today. And I'm like, okay. So we spat a little bit, and she was like saliva dripping down her face. I said, someone get me a bottle of water. So we poured water into her hand, and through translation, I said, I saw eyeballs in heaven. Grab hold of your eyeballs, receive your healing now. And literally, she went like this, rubbed her eyes, and she's like, and she could see right the way over to the edge of the compound. And then Sarah ran to the road, and she was holding 4 fingers up and then starting to wave. And we said, can you see Sarah? And she went, and started waving, and her eyes were completely healed. And we had so many of those where literally they could not see. One lady had a ulcer over her pupil, and she was completely blind. All she could see was black. And this is at Shiva at Cabras, our new land. She could see completely black, and there was this bulbous eye literally bulging out, wasn't it? And she said, I can't see, it's just black. She could see out this one. And so again, we asked the Lord what he wanted to do, and we did what the Lord said, and it started to improve. She said, I can see color. And then she's like, I can see movement. And I said, I believe it's going to carry on getting stronger. Now here's some water, wash and claim your healing. And as she rubbed her eyes afterwards, she suddenly looked at Cy Coles. Cy was standing right next to her, and she hadn't seen him before. And she suddenly said, you're wearing a pink shirt. And then she saw Stu walking towards her and said, the man's wearing checks. And it got stronger and stronger. And by the end, she was 80% healed. And then about 5 minutes later, she went to Kelly and she said, I have a group of widows. This is how you we know it's real. I have a group of widows. So many of them are blind. Would you come because they need to have what I've just received? And then the senior village elder came up to Stu. He'd heard about the blind eyes. He wasn't blind, but he had moments of blindness and horrendous things going across his eyes. The senior village elder, he said, I've come basically to get my healing. And me and Ellie were together. We just called the kingdom of God to come, and we made him wash, and his face and everything was completely clear. He was completely healed as well. So God was about the blind eyes, and he just said to me, he said, remember, Muslims say especially the sign of the Messiah is when the blind eyes are opened. And so what undid me is that Jesus Christ of Nazareth was just walking on our land, healing blind eyes.